The air is damp before dawn. You can taste the stone. Cold seeps through the walls of your chest, settling somewhere beneath the ribs. A chill not even fire remembers how to chase away. Outside, frost whitens the grass, but it is the earth below that swallows you whole. With one foot, then the next, you descend into the belly of a mountain. Each step creaks like old bones. Overhead, timber groans. The only light flickers from your oil lamp, a trembling star in a black universe. You carry your pick, your lunch, and a silence deeper than sleep. You haven't seen sunlight in days, but you remember what it used to feel like. If this shadowed world speaks to something in you, if the silence and soot linger in your thoughts, tell me, could you have lived your whole life underground? Subscribe to wander further into forgotten worlds. The morning is pale, but the earth beneath your boots is older than time and colder than memory. Frost curls along the window panes of the stone cottage you just left behind, delicate as lace spun by winter's hand. Your mother's kiss still lingers on your cheek, a ghost of warmth against skin chapped by wind, and now you wait. The shaft looms before you like a mouth opened in hunger. Wooden beams frame its descent, slick with morning dew and coal dust, as if the mine itself has begun to sweat in anticipation. Around you, men cough into handkerchiefs turned black at the edges. Some spit onto the dirt and mutter about the cold, but most simply wait, still silent, resigned, as though the day itself has already defeated them. You are 10 years old. Today the mine breathes you in. If this quiet world stirs something deep inside you, if you can feel the cold and hear the silence, then subscribe. More stories like this are waiting in the dark. What would it take for a child to walk willingly into the mouth of the earth? The bell rings once, a low, metallic toll. It means the lift is ready. You step forward on legs that don't quite feel like your own. The boards groan beneath your boots, and a man you don't yet know rests a hand on your shoulder. His fingers are like branches, gnarled and strong. He doesn't smile. No one does here. Smiling takes breath, and breath is precious. The cage is made of timber, bound with rusting iron straps. It shudders as you and a dozen others step inside. Ropes above stretch upward, vanishing into grey sky. Somewhere higher, a steam winch hisses and groans, like a sleeping beast being forced awake. The gate shuts behind you. Then the world begins to fall. The descent is slow, but the darkness is fast. Within seconds, the pale light of morning is a fading memory above. You grip the edge of the lift with numb fingers, trying not to look down, though down is all there is now. You smell oil, coal, sweat. Beneath the wooden floor, a sound begins, faint at first, then louder, a rhythmic wheeze, as if the very earth is breathing, in, out, in, out. You do not know it yet, but you'll carry that sound inside you for the rest of your life. The man beside you coughs into his scarf. Another lights a small oil lamp hanging from his belt, and it casts a weak orange glow across the others' faces, all hollow-eyed, soot-marked, distant. One clutches a prayer token. Another chews tobacco like it's keeping him tethered to the surface, and then you arrive. The cage thuds to a halt. The gate creaks open, and before you is a tunnel, barely tall enough for your father to walk upright. Wooden beams line the passage, their tops splintered and scarred from years of stress. The walls weep slowly, droplets gathering and falling in steady rhythm, echoing like whispers. Your lamp flickers to life. Its glow is feeble, swallowed quickly by the blackness ahead. But it is enough. Just enough to see where to place your foot next. The path forks, one branch disappearing into a lower gallery where the water rises to the knees, the other bending upward toward newer rock. You follow the man who spoke to you earlier. He doesn't ask your name. He only gestures. This way. The further in you go, the more the silence tightens. It isn't true silence. Not quite. There's always something. A groan from the ceiling, a distant thud. Somewhere deeper in the labyrinth, a pickaxe strikes stone. The rhythm of it is hypnotic, like a second heartbeat echoing through the bones of the mine. You pass a resting area, a hollow in the rock where men sit on. Overturned crates, chewing their morning bread. One is whittling wood, carving a small horse from a splintered beam. Another adjusts the bandage on his wrist, his fingers blackened at the tips. They glance up at you, a newcomer, and nod, but say nothing. Speaking takes effort, and there is work to do. The air down here is different, heavier. It settles in your lungs like dust in an attic. You feel it coat your throat, your tongue. The moisture makes your skin itch beneath your wool layers. Cloaks worn thin by 1,000 winters. You wonder if your mother knew this is what it would feel like. You wonder if your father ever told her. You round another bend, and suddenly everything is noise. A team of men working a vein. Pickaxes ring like bells in a cathedral of stone. Sparks fly. Coal crumbles. The light from your lamp joins theirs. Hundreds of little flames dancing, like lost stars in the belly of the earth. A man shouts above the din, "Watch the wall." Another answers with a grunt. A boy, not much older than you, drags a wooden cart filled with black rubble. His face is smudged and hollow. He sees you, and for a brief second, something passes between you. Recognition, fear, understanding. You blink, he is gone. The man guiding you stops. He kneels and marks a point on the wall. "We start here," he says. He hands you a small pick, not sharp, not heavy, but it feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds in your palm. Your first strike echoes louder than you expect. It sings through the shaft, and coal splinters under your blow. The dust rises, clinging to your skin like ash. You breathe in, and you breathe in coal. It coats the inside of your mouth, your nose, your chest. You taste the mine. You carry it now. The work begins in earnest, and as it does, the mine seems to come alive, not violently, but patiently, like a creature that has accepted your presence. For now, you don't speak for the rest of the shift. You don't have to. Your body begins to understand the rhythm, the gestures, the language of coughs and nods. And somewhere in the long dark, time forgets itself when the bell finally rings. Again, many hours later, it surprises you. You didn't notice how tired you were, how your hands have blistered, how your knees ache from crouching. But as you walk back to the cage that will take you up, you feel it all and none of it. The pain is numb, distant, like the daylight you haven't seen since morning. The lift rises. Slowly, the light grows. The cold grows colder again, but this time you welcome it. When you step out onto the surface, you are no longer the boy who waited in the pale frost. You are someone else now. Someone who knows how the coal breathes. Someone who has breathed it in return. The first thing you notice is how the damp clings to your skin. Not just wet, but living, as though the walls themselves are exhaling a slow, heavy breath. The timber, beams sweat with it. The stone sweats with it. You sweat with it. It seeps into your shirt, slides down your spine, gathers at the bend of your elbows. There is no dryness here, only the steady drip, 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 of water falling from the ceiling, echoing endlessly in the clothes. Dark air. You step from the lift again, your lamp already lit, though it barely casts enough light to see your own hands. Still, you know the path, the same path as yesterday. Your boots sink slightly into the sludge beneath you. Not mud, but coal slurry. It coats the soles, sticks to the sides, and smears every surface you touch. It smells like rust and rot, like something once alive but long buried. The deeper you go, the narrower the tunnels become. Today you're sent to a lower seam, one of the wet ones. They call it the dripping lung. The older boys speak of it with a kind of reverence, or maybe fear. It's where the air grows thickest, where men have fainted from the weight of it pressing on their chests. But the coal is rich there, dense, blacker than ink. The owners prize it, so the men go. And now, so do you. Your breath fogs in the cold, but the air is strangely warm around your knees. A contradiction that never quite makes sense. Warmth from the earth, damp from the rock, cold from the air above. Your body adjusts, but slowly, like a door creaking on old hinges. Around you, the mine awakens in pieces. A whistle, a grunt, the clink of metal against stone. Further in, someone swears as a cart tips over. You hear laughter, brief and tired. It dies quickly. The walls grow slick. The further in you crawl. That's the word now. Crawl. The passage narrows until you must duck your head, then your shoulders, then finally fall to your knees. You shuffle forward, lamp held low, its flame flickering wildly as if afraid. Ahead, a boy no older than 12 waits for you. His face is blackened, but his eyes are clear, sharp. He hands you a small hammer without speaking, and points toward the seam. A narrow vein of coal gleams along the rock face, like obsidian stitched into the earth. You nod and begin. The sound is soft at first, a gentle tapping that feels too quiet to matter. But with time, the coal begins to flake, then chip, then crack. Each blow sends vibrations up your arm. Each flake that falls lands in the puddle at your knees. Ripples shimmer outward, then vanish. The water here is still. It does not flow. It waits. You lose track of time. There is no sky here, no sun, no bell to mark the hours. Only work and the sound of water. Always the water. At one point, a droplet lands on your neck. You flinch. It's cold as bone. Then another on your scalp. Another down your back. You shiver and try to ignore it, but the sensation lingers, like the memory of hands pressed to your skin. A beam groans somewhere nearby. The tunnel shifts, not a collapse, not yet, but a reminder. The earth is not your friend. It tolerates you, for now, but you are trespassing. This world was never meant for lungs, for skin, for light. You dig in a place where the dead belong. Beside you, the boy hums a tune under his breath. You don't recognize it, but it's soft and slow, like a lullaby you might have heard once, long ago. The melody wavers with each droplet, each echo. You wonder if he sings it to calm himself, or the mine. Your hands cramp, your knees ache. The slurry soaks through the knees of your trousers. The black water stains everything it touches. The older men say it never really washes out. Not from fabric, not from skin, not from the folds behind your eyes. They say the mine stays with you. You pause to sip water from a tin, flask tucked into your shirt. It's warm now, metallic, and tastes faintly of oil. Still, you drink deeply. Around you, the dripping continues. It's louder now, as if the walls themselves are weeping. The boy with the clear eyes looks up suddenly, listening. He presses his palm to the ceiling. You freeze. Silence follows, then nothing. He nods again, back to work. You wonder how many signs you've yet to learn, which sounds mean danger, which creaks mean time to run. It is a language carved in stone and silence, not in words. A cart arrives, empty. You fill it with the morning's take, shoveling coal chunk by chunk into the wooden bin. Each thud feels final, heavy. When it's full, the boy attaches it to a mule's harness. The mule, silent and resigned, lumbers off down a separate tunnel. You watch the flame of his lamp fade to nothing. For a moment, you are alone. The walls drip like rain. The roof sags low enough that you must crouch even as you rest. Your fingers are cracked. Your shoulders scream. The pick lies beside you, soot-streaked, and silent, and still. You are not afraid. Not anymore. The rhythm is beginning to make sense. The darkness no longer feels like a threat, but a presence. Something that watches, listens, waits. It does not love you, but it knows you now. You strike again, and again, and again. Each blow sings through the stone. Each echo is a hymn. Each drop of water is a whispered prayer. The mine breathes, and so do you. For now, it begins with a flicker of movement, a quick, sinuous dart along the edge of the lantern's reach. You freeze, mid-swing, your pickaxe suspended in the cold stillness of the shaft. A rat, then another, then a dozen more, their tiny claws skittering across stone, their black eyes gleaming like wet coal in the lamplight. They move without panic, but with purpose, flowing like a stream around your ankles, vanishing into the darkness behind you. You are not alone in watching them. A low voice, dry and close, murmurs, "They know before we do." You turn. A man is crouched nearby, half shadowed against the rock wall. He's not part of your crew, you're sure of it. His beard is coal-thick, dust woven into every thread of his clothing. One eye is milky white, a film covering the pupil like ash over fire. The other is sharp and yellowed, fixed on you. He nods once. They know. The man is called Ewan. Nobody uses his surname. You hear whispers about him from the older boys, that he survived 3 cave-ins, that he once dug his way out of a sealed chamber using only his hands, that he speaks to rats, and that they speak back. You thought it was nonsense, until now. He sits on a low crate, stroking a long scar on his forearm. His voice is quiet, but carries through the shaft like smoke through rafters. If you ever see them run, you follow. Don't stop to ask. Don't stop to shout. Don't stop to breathe. You follow. The others working nearby act as if he's not there. They don't greet him. They don't make eye contact. One man even makes a sign across his chest as he walks past, a gesture half blessing, half warding. Ewan is not ignored. He is acknowledged and avoided. He leans toward you slightly, his good eye gleaming. This mine is a living thing. It groans when it's hungry, cracks its bones when it stretches, but it never warns you in words, only in whispers. And the rats, they listen. You nod. Slowly, you don't know if you believe him, but the air down here feels different today, tighter somehow, closer. The rats are gone now. but their passing lingers in your mind like a dream you're not sure was yours. Ewan lifts a small tin from his coat, bread, hard as iron, with a smear of lard on top. He tears it in half and offers you a piece. You hesitate, then accept. As you chew, he begins to talk, not directly to you, but into the dark. You're new, still soft. I can see it in your hands. You haven't learned to bleed quietly yet. He chuckles, but there's no warmth in it, just dust and memory. Do you know what it means to listen down here? He asks. Not with your ears, with your bones. You shake your head. He taps the shaft wall beside him with a knuckle. You learn the rhythms. The sigh of settling stone. The pulse of water dripping where it shouldn't. You feel it through your spine when something's wrong. And when the mind wants to take someone, it always says so. You try to swallow, but your throat is dry. He turns, fixing you with that yellowed gaze. There are names carved into these walls, not with knives, with lungs turned black and backs. Broken, underweight. If you forget that, the mine will make you remember. Somewhere behind you, the sound of collapsing coal echoes just a small shift, a minor tumble. But every head turns, every lamp raises, even Ewan stands. That's not normal, he mutters. Then, softly, and the rats didn't come back. He moves with surprising speed, gathering his lamp and gear. His coat is patched with decades of grime, the hem torn. He doesn't run, but he walks with intent. You follow, the others shout after you, but you don't stop. You round a corner, pass an intersection of tunnels, and emerge into a wider gallery, still and quiet. Ewan presses a hand to the timber beam overhead. It groans. That one's bending, he says. Watch. You wait. A faint creak, then another. A drip lands on your head. Another, then a sharp crack like splintering wood. You both back away. The beam shudders, but holds. Ewan sighs. Not yet, but soon. You breathe again. He glances at you. You'll remember this, and you will. That night, back above ground, the story spreads. A beam had been weakened, another shift or two, and it might have gone. Some scoff at the idea of the rats. Others don't speak at all. You lie in your cot, staring at the wooden ceiling of your cottage. The sound of water dripping from the eaves echoes the rhythm from underground. You wonder where the rats sleep, if they ever see the sun. You close your eyes. In your dreams, the mine is alive. It watches, it breathes, and somewhere in the dark, a man with a milky eye whispers to creatures with sharper senses than yours. The morning is a prayer whispered through cracked lips, not for warmth, not for rest, but for something simpler, survival. You walk to the shaft as always, past the frostbitten hedges and chimney smoke that smells not of food, but of burned paper and damp coal. Your hands are already black beneath the nails. You haven't been clean in weeks, but there's no time. To notice today begins like the last. You descend, the air thickens. The mine welcomes you back like a forgotten grave opening its arms. But you no longer flinch. You are learning. You follow the same tunnel, dragging your lamp behind you, the flame shrinking against the weight of the dark. Around you, the rock breathes and drips, as if remembering last night's dreams. The seams are thin here, but the coal is hard, the kind that sings when it breaks. Men say it was once a forest, long before memory, now petrified into shadow, and so you chip away at it, one flake at a time, with fingers that ache before the day even begins. By midday, your breath comes in short bursts. The dust is worse today. A thick fog of black that rises with every strike of your pick, curling into your mouth and eyes like smoke with weight. You taste it. It grits between your teeth. When you swallow, it burns. The work stops for lunch. You move to a wide beam where others have gathered, their lamps set carefully in a circle like a fire that does not warm. No one speaks much. There is only the sound of unwrapping cloth, of flasks uncorking, of weary joints settling. Your meal is wrapped in an old rag, a crust of yesterday's bread, a knob of cheese hardened by the cold, and one sliver of salted pork that tastes more of salt than meat. It is enough. You chew slowly. Dust settles on the bread before it even reaches your mouth. A man beside you takes out a tin of dripping and smears it thickly on his bread. He notices you watching and offers you the end. You hesitate, but then nod. Hunger is stronger than pride. First, months always worst, he says, mouth full, voice a gravel whisper. After that, you either leave, or you forget how to. You don't answer. He smiles faintly, then coughs, a deep, tearing sound that rattles in his chest like something loose and broken. He spits into the dark. The spittle is black. You look away to your left. A boy you've never seen before has already fallen asleep, curled against a rock with his cap over his eyes. His hands still clutch his pick. He doesn't stir when a rat scurries over his boot. Another. Man sharpens his blade for timber work. The rasp of metal on stone rings sharp in the silence. Lunch ends with no signal. One by one, they rise. The lamps lift. The dust stirs. And work resumes. The next seam is tight. You must crawl for it. Your back scrapes the ceiling. Water pools beneath you. When you reach it, the coal stares back at you like teeth in a mouth that never smiles. You raise your pick. You begin again. Hours pass. Your knuckles split where glove meets skin. Blood smears the handle of your tool, but you don't stop. The rhythm is everything. Strike, breathe, drag, strike, breathe. You become a part of the mine, not a boy, not a name, not even a body, just motion, just effort. Your thoughts fade, your ears ring. You forget what silence sounds like. At one point, you hear a cry, not a scream, but a sharp intake of breath, quickly muffled. You turn your headlamp and find a man gripping his hand, blood pouring from his palm. A shattered pick lies beside him. Another man rushes to bind the wound with a strip of cloth. The bleeding doesn't stop quickly, but they don't take him up. They never do for things like this. There is too much work to finish. The man presses his back to the wall and breathes through clenched teeth. A few minutes later, he is back to digging, one hand wrapped, the other swinging. You learn something then. Pain is not an interruption here. It is the cost of the day. By the time the bell rings, you can hardly stand. Your arms are numb. Your lungs burn. The taste of coal lingers on your tongue like ink spilled across parchment. You drag yourself toward the lift. Another boy collapses beside you, his eyes open but seeing nothing. No one helps him. He'll move eventually. Back above ground, the air feels foreign, too bright, too open. You blink against the setting sun. Your ears ring with the silence that the mine left behind. At home, your mother does not ask questions. She sees the way you move. She places a bowl of stew in front of you. It is thin, but warm. You eat in silence. Your sister hums beside the hearth, folding rags for mending. Your father coughs in the next room, deep, rattling, endless. You do not speak of the man who bled. You do not speak of the rats. You do not speak of your own blisters, or how the dust has worked its way into the skin behind your ears. You eat. You wash your hands in a basin already black with yesterday's work. You lie on your cot, listening to the wind against the shutters, and in the quiet of the night, you realize something strange. You no longer notice the taste of coal. There is a silence deeper than any the world above can offer, a silence so thick it presses against your chest like a stone. It lives in the place beyond light, beyond sound, beyond breath. You will come to know it intimately, but not yet, not fully. Not until today. The morning begins, like all the others, a belly full of weak broth, the ache of frost on your boots, the slow trudge to the shaft. Your mother ties a red scrap of cloth to your wrist, a charm against falling rock. You don't believe it works, but you don't take it off. The cage takes you down, as always. This time, you're assigned to a deeper section, the third hollow, they call it. Fewer timbers there, less air, but the coal is rich and soft, and the owners want it quick. You are paired with 3 others, Ewan with his broken eye, a younger boy named Reese, and a man with no upper teeth, who speaks in growls and gestures. The air is heavy today, thick with something unspoken. Even Ewan doesn't talk much. The tunnel curves downward into a tighter seam. You move slowly, heads bent, shoulders brushing damp walls. Your lamp flickers in the chill drip's echo. Reese hums under his breath, that same lullaby he always sings. It seems to hold the dark at bay, if only slightly. You set to work, pick in hand, rhythm steady. Coal crumbles, dust floats, time forgets itself again. Then it happens. A sudden shudder through the floor. A gust, brief and strange, rushes past your face, as if the mine has exhaled all at once. And then the light dies. Not just yours, all of them. A pop, a hiss, a gasp, then nothing. You freeze, eyes wide. The blackness is instant and perfect. You cannot see your hands, cannot see the floor, cannot even tell if your eyes are open or closed. Your breath grows sharp and fast. The dark wraps itself around your face, around your ribs, around your thoughts. It is not merely absence, it is presence. Thick, alive, watching. You hear Reese cry out, a short, strangled noise, and then his voice, "My lamp." Another voice answers, Ewan, calm, low, "Stay still." You hear a shuffle, a stumble, the clatter of something metal hitting rock. No flame, the toothless man mutters, more to himself than anyone. Oil's bad. All gone, wet wick, bad run. You sit down slowly, trying not to panic. The floor is slick beneath you. Your fingers touch something warm, someone's hand, trembling. Reese, maybe. A long minute passes, then another dot. The silence grows and grows. You become aware of your own breathing, too fast, too loud. You try to slow it, but the air feels thinner now, like every breath is being fought over. Ewan speaks again. Close your eyes. You do. Picture the path. You've walked it. Feel it under your feet. You try. The shaft sloped to the right. There was a bend, a crack in the wall, a timber beam missing its nails. You whisper, "I remember." "Good," he replies. "Then we'll find our way out." He takes the lead. You form a chain, each of you with a hand on the shoulder of the one ahead. The toothless man behind you mutters nonsense under his breath. Reese grips your sleeve so tightly it hurts. Step by step, you move. The blackness is total. There is no horizon, no sense of scale. Only the scrape of boots, the brush of air, the wet slap of droplets falling somewhere unseen. You count your steps, 12, 13, 14, a turn. Your shoulder hits stone. Ewan says nothing, only adjusts, moves again. Time distorts. You could be walking for minutes, hours, or perhaps you've circled the same point over and over. You begin to imagine shapes in the dark, faces, hands, the gleam of eyes, watching you. Shake your head, breathe slow. Ewan murmurs, "That's all we can do." Eventually, a faint scent reaches you, smoke. Cold smoke, not flame, but the ghost of it. A memory. You round a bend and feel air on your cheek. Moving air, the shaft. Ahead, you know it now. A light, dim, flickering, not yours. Another team's. They shine their lamps toward you and call. Out, you do not answer. You do not have to. Your eyes sting as the light touches them again. Your legs wobble. Reese collapses beside you and begins to sob, loud. Wet sobs that echo up the shaft like a child's voice calling from a well. You don't. Stop him. The others arrive. They take your hands, lead you out, back into the world of light. That night, you cannot sleep. Even with the hearth burning low, even with the stars outside, your eyes search for the dark again. You blink and see nothing. You close your eyes and see more the next morning when you wake. Your lamp is already filled, but you stare at it a long time before lighting the wick. And for the rest of your life, you will remember that silence, the kind that lives inside the earth and waits it begins. In the small hours before the fire is stirred, before the chickens rustle in the straw, before the frost on the window has begun to melt. It begins with a sound you've heard all your life, but now it's louder, deeper, hungrier. Your father's cough. It claws its way through the thin walls of the cottage, rising from his chest like something trying to escape. It starts with a low rattle, then comes the gasping draw of breath, then the violent hack, again and again, until it rattles the rafters. You lie awake and listen, count the beats between spasms. Hope the silence afterward is not the last. When it ends, it leaves behind a stillness more terrible than the sound. You rise quietly, step over your brother's sleeping body, his arms curled around an empty sack for warmth. You slip on your boots. They're damp, they always are. The fire is out, but your mother is already there, feeding it shreds of old ledger paper and curls of bark. She doesn't look at you. On the table, a cup of honey water. It's for your father. You carry it to him. He sits propped up on the bed, eyes half-lidded, skin sallow, as if smoke has settled beneath it. His beard is patchy now, his cheeks sunken, but still he smiles faintly when he sees you. You pass him the cup, and he nods. His hands tremble as he drinks. "Any shifts today?" he rasps. You nod, third, hollow again. His eyes close. "Keep your lamp high, and if the timbers creak, don't stay to listen." You don't answer. He taught you that years ago, there was a time, not long ago, when he was the one descending into the dark. He was strong then, broad-shouldered, quick with a joke, able to lift twice what you could. He taught you how to swing a pick without jarring. Your elbow, how to feel the rock through your boots, how to listen for the mind's sighs. But then came the first cough, a soft thing, almost apologetic. Then came the nights sitting up, the handkerchiefs folded with care, and stained dark red by morning. The mine, they say, gets into your lungs. It's not just dust, it's stone, turned powder, years of breath spent in silence, walls that weep, seams that rot, air that thickens until it clings. There is no cure for it, only time. He has not worked in 7 months. Your mother does her best. She takes in washing, knits socks for traders. But there's never enough. Your wages, small as they are, keep the coals burning barely. He coughs again. The sound is sharp, wet. You see the pain ripple through his frame, through ribs that once felt unbreakable. I'll be back before dark, you say. He doesn't answer. His breath is shallow now. You descend into the mine with those coughs still echoing in your mind. As always, the air tightens around you. Familiar now, almost comforting. But not today. Today, it feels like you're walking into your father's. Chest, like the walls themselves, are lined with the same struggle for breath. Ewan greets you with a nod. Reese is there, his hair matted to his brow, his lamp already lit. You say nothing. Words feel too fragile. The seam is narrower today. You wedge yourself between walls slick with condensation, your breath coming quicker than usual. A cough escapes you, just a little one. You pause. Ewan looks over. First time, he asks softly. You nod, wiping your sleeve across your mouth. It'll pass. He lies. The rhythm of the mind takes over. Again, strike, drag, breathe, strike, drag, breathe. But the dust is heavier than before. It floats, glistening, catching the light of your lamp in slow motion swirls. You know what it is. You breathe it anyway. By midday, your throat is raw. You drink from your flask, but the water tastes metallic. You think about your father's breath, how it used to whistle as he climbed the stairs. How now it barely stirs a curtain. At break, you unwrap your bread. It's dry, but you eat it anyway. Reese offers you a piece of pickled beet. You thank him. Your da still coughing? He asks. You nod. My uncle went the same way, he says. Said the mine took more from him than it ever gave. You both sit in silence after that. The shift ends with a stumble. A man slips near. A tunnel lip, his ankle turning sideways with a sound like snapped twine. He curses, loud and long. They carry him out on a plank. Above ground, the wind feels sharp enough to cut. Your lungs gasp at the change in air. It feels good, too good. Like something borrowed, not owned. You walk home, slowly. The lamp still burns in the cottage window. You push open the door. The hearth glows dimly. Your mother is asleep in a chair. Your father is not in bed. You find him sitting on the step outside, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the stars. You sit beside him. He does not look at you. The stars are always there, he says. Even when you can't see 'em from the shaft. You nod. He coughs once, then twice, then leans into you, tired as the night. You stay there until the frost touches your hair. Tomorrow, you'll go back down, and one day, you know, you'll bring his cough with you. The bell tolls, once, not from the church tower, but from the wooden beams strung with iron rope that hangs in the village square. A single strike, long and hollow, echoing through the still morning like a voice swallowed by fog. You hear it before you reach the shaft. Everyone does. The sound silences footsteps, freezes hands in mid-motion, stills the breath in every chest. Someone did not return. You pause beneath the frostbitten branches of the chestnut tree near the gate. The leaves are long gone, stripped by wind and time, but the limbs remain, black and brittle against a white sky. The cold seeps through your boots. Not even the mine's warmth feels welcome now. Reese stands beside you, eyes fixed on the ground. He says nothing, but you see his knuckles whiten around the strap of his lamp. Across the road, a woman cradles a child wrapped in wool too thin for the season. Her lips do not move, but you can tell she's counting heads. Searching for a face, you descend anyway. The shaft feels different today, quieter, slower, as if the mine too is in mourning below. The tunnels are darker than usual. The lamps flicker more often. No one hums, no one swears, no one spurs, no one speaks above a whisper. The sound of picks is sparse. Even the walls seem reluctant to echo back. The name of the lost man passes from one mouth to another, but only in corners. Thomas Gwynn, father of 4, fell beneath a timber that had been damp for weeks. It finally gave, and the roof with it. No chance to run, no time to cry out. They found him with one arm still outstretched, his lamp still burning beside his head. You try not to picture it. At the midday break, the silence persists. Even the rats are absent, as if they too are grieving. You sit beside Ewan in the hollow by the shaft bend. He sharpens his knife, edge slow against stone. You knew him, you ask. He doesn't look up. I, he says, worked beside him when the second seam opened. He sang when he was nervous. Old chapel hymns, always off-key. You imagine the voice echoing through stone, a small defiance against the dark left. Behind a girl, 10 years, a boy just turned 6. Ewan stops sharpening. His hands go still. Not the first, he says. Won't be the last. When you return above, the sky is bruised with evening. The air carries a stillness too wide to explain. The village gathers near the square, boots pressing frost into mud, faces wrapped in wool and worry. The church bell remains silent instead. The widow's bell tolls again, twice it's her right. Every widow gets 3 tolls, 1 for each day. She mourns aloud before the body is taken to rest. The first toll marks the death, the second marks the vigil. The third, when it comes, is for burial. You watch from behind your mother's shoulder. Her arms are crossed, her jaw is tight. She does not weep, but her fingers tremble where they grip her shawl. Later, back at the cottage, your father tries to rise from bed. He does not want to be seen lying down when the bell tolls again. Your mother pleads with him, but he insists. You help him sit by the fire. His cough has worsened, but he does not flinch. She needs someone to bring her wood, he murmurs. You. N.O.D. you will go. You carry a bundle across the square. The widow's house is small, stone walls patched with clay, roof sagging beneath the weight of old thatch. Smoke curls from the chimney, thin and weak. She opens the door herself. Her eyes are dry, but her voice is broken. Thank you. Inside, the child clutches her apron. The boy stares at the fire, unmoving. You place the wood beside the hearth. You do not stay outside. The night is sharp and still. A wind stirs the snow from the rooftops. Somewhere in the hills, a fox cries out. You walk home slowly, past shuttered windows and candlelit rooms. Each one holds its own silence, its own breath held tight. Your mother waits at the door. She does not speak. She only cups your cheek in her palm, rough and warm, and leads you inside. The third toll will come tomorrow, and after that, the mine will continue unchanged. But tonight, the silence lingers. They do not fit. You knew they wouldn't. Your old boots, cracked, stitched, soaked in black. now belong to smaller feet. Your younger brother stands in the doorway, wearing them like armor. They sag at the ankles, the tips scuffed and wide. He does not complain, he does not smile. He only nods when your father says, "They'll do for now." It is the morning of his first shift. Your mother ties his scarf twice, then once more, even though it is fraying. She tucks a biscuit into his coat pocket, hard as stone, but sweetened with honey. A luxury from the jar she keeps wrapped in cloth beneath the hearth. Her hands linger on his shoulders longer than they did with you. He is 9, you remember, being that small, or smaller. When the shaft loomed like a gate to the underworld, when your arms trembled before the pick was ever swung. You remember the hunger, the silence, the hope that someone would say, "No, not yet." But no one does. The mind takes boys young. It needs their hands, nimble, quick, able to reach where grown men cannot. They are called trappers, drawers, dust boys. They are sent into shafts no taller than a man's thigh, where air barely stirs and the rats move without sound. They carry food, tools, messages, and they listen. Always listening, you walk him to the lift. The morning is thick with fog. It clings to the village roofs, turns breath to cloud. The wooden beams of the shaft are slick with dew. Miners gather. In clusters, quiet as ever, boots heavy with wear. No one looks surprised to see the boy. No one stops it. It is simply his turn. Ewan glances over. "That your brother?" You nod. "He's small," he says. You nod again. The cage descends. Your brother clings to the rail with both hands, knuckles pale beneath the grime. He says nothing, but you feel the tremble in him. You see the way his jaw clenches to keep from shivering. You rest a hand on his shoulder. He does not look at you, but he leans into the touch. When the cage stops, he takes his first breath of the mine. It hits him like a weight, the heat, the damp, the musk of earth, the scent of men who've worked since before dawn. He stumbles slightly. A hand steadies. Him Reese's, who offers him a nod and a lamp. The boy grips it with fingers not yet calloused. Today he is assigned to the west chute, near the low vent. It's narrow, a crawl space, a place where even the rats blink before entering. You help him through the first stretch. Show him how to crawl without scraping his elbows, how to breathe slow, how to brace against falling pebbles. He listens well. Too well. Children always do in places like this. The shaft opens into a hollow barely tall enough to sit. You hand him a crate of supplies, oil, cloth, wedges, and point toward the seam. He nods, swallows hard, and disappears into the dark. Wait. The minutes pass like sand through clenched fists. Then his lamp flickers from around the bend. A soft rustle, a cough, a breath. He returns, alive. His face is grey with dust, but there is a light in his eyes now. Not pride, not yet, but something else. Endurance. He does it again, and again, and again. You work your shift as usual. The pick sings in your palm. The dust coats your throat. Your mind drifts, but not far. Always circling back to him, always listening. At midday, you meet at the central beam. You share your crust of bread with him. He says nothing, but chews slowly, carefully, cold. You ask, he shakes his head, scared. He nods, just once. Ewan passes by and tosses him a strip of jerky. You did well, boy. Your brother's eyes widen. He bows his head. Thank you, sir. The rest of the day passes in rhythm. By dusk, your brother's steps are heavier. His boots still don't fit. Blisters bloom beneath the leather. But he walks upright. When you rise in the cage and the sky returns, your mother is waiting. She rushes to the lift's edge, arms open, breath caught. She doesn't say a word, only holds him to her chest as if he's already fading. That night, he sleeps in your cot. The cold has worsened. The walls breathe with wind. He curls beneath your blanket and murmurs something half-dreamed. Was it like that for you too? You nod. I was scared. I know, but I did it. You did. Outside the church bell does not toll. Tonight, no one has died, but still, something is lost. Some sliver of boyhood, some last thread of softness. You watch your brother sleep. And you wonder how many more days it will take before the boots finally fit. It cracks between your teeth, a stone no larger than a fingernail, nestled inside a bite of stew. You stop chewing, pause, roll it against your tongue, unsure if it came from the potato or from the floor. You spit it into your hand. It glistens, round and grey. The room around you doesn't react. Your mother ladles another portion into your father's bowl, careful to give him more broth than meat. He can't chew much anymore. Your brother picks at his bread with dust-blackened fingers, eyelids drooping from his first full week in the mine. No one speaks. The only sound is the soft bubbling of the pot on the hearth, and the occasional groan of the wind as it curls beneath the cottage door. The stew is thin. Always is. Bits of carrot, flake of onion, a hint of something that might have been meat 3 days ago. But it is hot, and it fills the hollows in your belly for a while. You chew carefully now, tongue alert for any other pebbles hiding among the vegetables. There's no anger in it. You've eaten worse. You've swallowed coal, dust and half-burnt oats, and once, the toe of a rat someone mistook for rabbit. That was during a strike. Outside, the frost thickens. It crawls up the window. Glass like vines, bending the candlelight into strange shapes. You draw your coat tighter, even inside. Your breath still fogs. After dinner, your mother wraps a wool scarf around your father's throat and holds a mug to his lips. He coughs again, hard, into a cloth she keeps tucked in her apron. The sound is deeper tonight, thicker. The cloth comes away red. Number 1 reacts. There is no firewood left, only peat scraps and coal chips scavenged from the mine's discard pile. The warmth they offer is brief, the smell is acrid, but it's all you have. You huddle near it, letting your boots steam, your skin itch. Your brother hums quietly, almost without realizing, the same tune he sang underground. It makes the room feel less hollow. Tomorrow is Sunday. No work, but no wages either. The morning will bring chores, mending socks, scouring pots, helping mother carry water from the pump. If the weather allows, you'll walk to chapel, where the pews creak and the prayers are whispered by mouths too tired to shout. The minister speaks of heaven, but no one looks up. After supper, your mother unpacks the sewing basket, not to mend clothes, but to unpick old ones. She cuts out the seams of your father's best shirt, folds the fabric carefully. This will line your coat, she says. The frost will thicken by week's end. You nod. Your fingers are already stiff with cold. You lost a fingernail last month, smashed between timber and crate. It grew back crooked. You hide it in your glove. Your brother curls up in the corner beside the dog, whose ribs now show more clearly than his tail wags. He shares a crust of bread with the creature, breaking it into equal halves. I want to work the top shaft next week, he says. No, you reply, not yet. He shrugs, his eyes close. The coal dust hasn't left his lashes. It never does. Your father watches. You both, then speaks, slowly. You've done well, both of you. His voice is hoarse, worn thin. You nod again. Outside, footsteps crunch past the door. Then another, then silence. Somewhere down the road, a dog barks, a child cries. Then, like snow falling on wool, the quiet returns. You dream of food, that night, not the strange, overriched feasts the landlord's boy bragged of once. Not swans or sugar or wine, just warmth, a full loaf, a pot of milk, thick slices of turnips soaked in butter, an egg with salt. You imagine the heat on your cheeks, the smell of yeast rising, your stomach full enough to forget its own shape. Wake hungry, but you always do. Your mother has left a sliver of cheese on the table, wrapped in cloth, barely more than a mouthful. She saved it from last week's visit to the charity line. You split it with your brother while he laces up the boots that still don't fit. Neither of you speak. Outside, the air bites. The pump is frozen. You'll need to break the ice before filling the pails. Your hands already ache in anticipation, and yet, when your brother grins at you, gap-toothed, soot-smudged, you smile back. Not because there is joy, but because even in hunger, even in cold, something endures. A laugh at a cracked joke. A meal of pebbles, shared and forgiven. A mother's hand in your hair when sleep comes. It isn't plenty, it isn't ease, but it is love, and it is enough for now. The cart stands still, its wheels sunken slightly into the muck of the shaft floor, the cargo piled high with broken stone and fresh-cut coal, the iron fittings squeaking as if eager to move. But the mule at its front does not budge. He stands with his hooves planted, ears low, eyes heavy with age. One of the men snaps a rope at his side, not hard, just enough to sting. Still, nothing. The mule breathes, long and slow, as if waiting for something only he can sense. You pause beside the cart, arms aching from the morning's haul. The tunnel curves gently behind you, a ribcage of timber struts and dripping stone. Further back, the others are still loading from the low seam, their picks chipping at the wall with tired rhythm. Ewan approaches from behind, glancing at the frozen animal, then at the cart. Old bastard, he mutters, shaking his head. Too long in the dark. The mule's name is Josar, or so the men say. No one remembers when he arrived. Some claim he was born in the mine. Others insist he was brought down during the flood 2 winters ago, when the upper shaft collapsed and took 3 carts with it. However long he's been here, he knows the tunnels better than any of you. He's worked more days than any man. Still drawing breath, Reese crouches beside him, holding out a palm with a sugar scrap. The mule doesn't move, doesn't blink. He breathes, and that is all. You feel it then, the quiet. Not the usual hush of the shaft, but something deeper. The sound of water holding its breath. The silence of stone that might be about to shift. The mine feels ... still. Reese looks up. Something's wrong. Ewan nods slowly. Aye, he smells it. No one dares, say Kevin. Not yet, but you all feel it. The pressure, the pause, the weight of air to be trusted. Still, the work must go on. Another man arrives, curses under his breath, tries to tug Josser forward. The mule doesn't flinch. His body, strong and wiry beneath the grime, remains frozen, not afraid, not stubborn, just ... Resolute. We could push it, someone says. We could leave him, says another, but no one moves. No one touches him. Again, Ewan walks closer, kneels by the mule's side, and places a hand gently on his shoulder. "What is it, old boy?" he asks, voice quieter now. The lamplight dances across the wall, flickering like flame on water. "You hear something?" Joss's ear twitches. Then he shifts just a little, his back leg adjusting. Still, he does not walk. "We wait," Ewan says, and so you do. Minutes pass. The picks behind you fall silent, one by one. The cart remains loaded. The men gather, murmuring low. Even the rats, usually skittering along the walls, are nowhere to be seen. Then it comes, a sound like the groan of a waking god. Not loud, not sharp, just low, deep. A rumble through the bones of the mine. The timbers tremble. Dust falls, in thin sheets from the seams overhead. You don't run, there's no need. It passes quickly, a settling, not a breaking. A warning, not a blow. And when it ends, Jossa finally moves. One slow step forward, then another. The cart creaks behind him. The tunnel breathes again. No one speaks until he's out of sight. You return to your place by the wall, resume your work. The rhythm returns. Slowly, later, as your shift ends and you rise toward the surface, you carry the image with you, the mule standing alone, still as stone, listening to something no man could hear. That evening, back at the cottage, your brother tells your father the story. The old man chuckles between coughs. "They've got more sense than any of us mules do. They don't lie, they don't pretend they're brave. You eat your supper, bread soaked in broth, thick with boiled turnip, and think of eyes, the way they looked past you, the way they waited. Your mother hums by the fire. Your brother leans against your side, already half-dash asleep outside. The wind rattles the shutters, and somewhere below, far beneath your feet, Jossa rests in the dark, not afraid of it, not even troubled by it, just waiting for what the stone might say next. You notice it on a morning much like any other fog, clinging to the village roofs. The faint smell of burning peat rising through the cold, your boots damp before you even reach the shaft. The mine greets you as always, with its sigh of stale air and dripping silence, its breath stale and thick as grave dust. You ride the lift down without speaking, shoulder to shoulder with the others, the weight of sleep still clinging to your limbs, but today the stone feels different. You can feel it in your ribs before you hear it. The faintest tremor, not sharp, not violent, but low and long, like the distant echo of thunder buried beneath your skin. You glance at Reese. He felt it too. His eyes flick to the ceiling, then quickly away. You press on. The tunnel today is narrow, the path broken with shallow puddles and hunched beams darkened by years of oil, smoke and moisture. You pass the third turn-off, where the shaft bends sharply into a lower seam. That's where you see it, a hairline crack, thin as spider silk, running across the underside of the central beam. It glistens slightly, moisture caught in its seam. It wasn't there yesterday. You stop. A droplet forms, hangs, falls. You point. Ewan joins you. He kneels beneath the crack, runs a calloused thumb along the timber grain, then up the rock above it. "New," he mutters. "Does it need to be reported?" Reese asks. Ewan stands. His mouth is set, his voice calm. They already know. They always know. He doesn't explain who they are. Not the foreman, not the men above, not even the mine owners. He means something else. The ones who own nothing and yet decide everything. The stone, the weight, the shifting air. You return to your post, unease coiled behind your ribs. The day begins. The pick bites. The coal breaks. But the rhythm falters. Your ear is tuned not to your own breath, but to the sound of timber, to the groan that never quite comes. The dust hangs heavier today, the air stiller. You strike softer, slower. You want to listen between the blows. During the midday pause, you take your bread further back into the tunnel than usual. The others are quieter now. Even the laughter, usually thin but present, is absent. You chew each bite slowly, staring at the dark knot of that crack in the wood, growing longer in your memory. Ewan approaches again. Remember the Cartwright seam? You nod. The one that collapsed 2 years ago. 17 dead. Your uncle among them. 3 days before, he says. A rat ran up a man's leg and bit him on the thigh. Wouldn't let go. Drew blood. He sits beside you, tears a piece of his bread, and tosses it to the tunnel floor. A single rat appears, grabs it, and scampers off. Smart bastards, he says. By late afternoon, the ceiling crack. It's just once. Just a whisper, a groan in the wood, like an old man rising from sleep. Everyone pauses, then, slowly, resumes. But your hands tremble now. Your thoughts refuse to settle. You don't speak to Reese. You don't ask if he's scared. He is, so are you. But neither of you can say the word collapse. It lives in your mind like a shadow without light. As the shift ends, you pass the crack again. It has deepened, slightly. Enough to notice. You don't point it out this time. That night, you walk home slower than usual. Your boots drag in the slush. The village feels fragile, as if every rooftop could fall inward at a breath. The windows glow dim with firelight. Your mother waves from the doorway, her shawl pulled tightly around her shoulders. Supper is plain. You eat in silence. Your father asks nothing. He sees the dust in your eyes, the stiffness in your spine. Your brother sleeps with his hands curled into fists. He murmurs in his sleep. You lie awake, listening. The house creaks, the wind moans, and somewhere in the walls of your memory, you hear it again, that thin, wet crack, lengthening through timber with patient inevitability. The mine is shifting, and the ceiling is listening. The earth does not. Shout, it groans, it begins with a sigh, almost gentle, as if the stone has grown weary of holding its own weight. You hear it before you feel it, a long, low exhale rising through the soles of your boots. You pause mid-swing. The pick hangs motionless in your hand. Around you, the others do the same. Eyes turn upward, toward the beams, toward the ceiling, toward the line where stone meets timber, and hope clings like dust. Then the groan becomes a crack, sharp, final, like a snapped neck. Beam gives way with a sound like a tree falling through water. You see it, just the edge of it, as it splinters, twisting sideways into the void. And then the roof follows. It doesn't fall all at once. The collapse moves like a wave, traveling through the shaft with terrifying grace. A thunderclap, a roar, then blackness and dust. You run, or try to, but your legs betray you. Your knees buckle. The ground bucks beneath you like a horse trying to shake free its rider. You fall, arms up, head turned dot. Stone rains down. You hear Reese shout. Somewhere behind you, someone screams. Then another voice, Ewan's, yells a name that's swallowed by the roar. A plank strikes your shoulder. The lamp flies from your hand. Light spins. then dies. Everything turns to shadow. Dust chokes the air. You cough, but it's not breath that comes, only black, thick as wool, sharp as ash. You pull your shirt over your mouth, clawing forward, on hands that can no longer tell earth from air. The sound is all around, not noise, but pressure. It collapses inside your skull. Then silence. The kind of silence that feels permanent. You don't know how long you lie there. Minutes, perhaps, or hours. You hear your own breath. That's all, a slow wheeze through dust-clogged lungs. You try to move. Something heavy pins your leg. A beam, a cart. You can't tell. You reach down, fingers numb, and feel only splinters. You whisper Reese's name. Nothing. You whisper it again. A cough. Then, faintly, a voice, choked, broken. Here, you call back. Slowly, your eyes adjust. There's no light, not really, just a faint phosphorescence from the damp stone and the eerie glow of memory. You see the vague outline of another body, curled, breathing. Ewan, his face is streaked with blood. One eye swollen shut, but he's alive. You, all right. He rasps. You nod, though you're not sure it's true. Together, you check the space. Around you, the collapse sealed both ends of the tunnel. You're in a pocket now, barely large enough to sit upright. The roof groans above, but holds. Trapped, you find your flask. It's half full. You pass it to Ewan. He drinks slowly, hands it back. Neither of you speak for a long time. Eventually, he leans his head back against the stone. Saw this once before, he says. Cartwright seam, same sound, same silence after. He coughs, wipes his mouth. His hand comes away. Red. You press your ear to the ground, listening. Nothing. Then a vibration, faint, distant, picks the rescue team. They're digging. You exhale, then choke again on the dust. In the dark, Ewan speaks. I remember the first time I went down. My Da handed me a lamp and said, hold it steady. The flame tells you when to run. You think of your own father, his breath, ragged in the night, the red cloth on your wrist, the way your brother smiled when he first saw light return after a shift. You close your eyes. The mine creaks. The air grows thinner. You ration your breaths, counting to 4 as you inhale, 6 as you exhale. You reach out, place your hand on the cold stone wall, feel it tremble, like a heart failing slowly. You whisper Reese's name again, no answer. Your voice feels too small for this place. Eventually, Ewan sleeps. His head nods forward, then sideways. His chest rises, falls. Barely, you sit there, waiting for sound, for light, for anything that means the earth has not finished swallowing you above. The world continues, but here, in the belly of stone, time forgets itself, and all you can do is breathe, and hope, and wait. You do not know if it is morning, or night, or something in between. The dark makes no distinction. Time has folded itself into silence, and silence into stone. You are still here, alive, though the word feels strange now, thin and remote. Like a name whispered across water, the air is stale, wet, close. You breathe it in shallow pulls, careful not to waste what little remains. It tastes of iron and dust and something older than breath. Each inhale is a decision, each exhale a prayer. Ewan has not moved. He lies slumped against the rock wall, mouth parted, eyelids twitching faintly with dreams. His chest still rises and falls, but barely. You watch him for long. Stretches, counting the seconds between breaths. 7, 9, 11, each one longer than the last. Your leg aches, pinned beneath a fallen timber. Not broken, but bloodless and numb. You tried shifting it once. The pain stole your voice. You stopped trying. Your lamp is gone, crushed. But you can still see, not with your eyes, but with something. Deeper, the shape of the shaft. The arc of the tunnel roof above your head. The exact spot where the timber cracked. Your fingers run along the floor, tracing grooves in the stone left by cartwheels and boot heels. You know this place like you know your own name, but it does not know you. The mine has no memory of the men it takes. You try to call out again. Your voice comes weak, croaking, like a bird trapped in soot. No one answers. There are no picks now. No distant scraping. No signal of rescue. Only the slow dripping of water from the ceiling. It lands beside your hand. Always the same spot. One drop every 13 seconds. You count. Again and again. The rhythm is steady, comforting, a heartbeat. In a place that has none, you think of your brother. His hands, too small for his boots. The red cloth on his wrist. Did he survive the collapse? Was he in the lower chute today, or back at the upper shaft? You can't remember. Your thoughts tangle like roots. You close your eyes. Sleep comes in. Fragments, not full rest, but drifting. You see your father sitting at the edge of his bed, coughing into the dawn. You see your mother stirring the pot, hands wrapped in cloth. You see your own hands, blistered and black, holding a lamp that will not light when you wake. The darkness is unchanged. Ewan stirs, groans, his hand moves toward his hip, then falls away. Still here, he murmurs. You nod. He cannot see you, but perhaps he feels it. He laughs, softly, a cracked sound. She's breathing. You frown. The mine, he says. She's still breathing. He presses his palm against the wall. Feel it. You reach out, fingertips, brushing the cold rock. At first, nothing. Then, a pulse. No, not a pulse. A tremor. A pressure. A low, constant hum rising through the stone. Not danger, not collapse. Just ... life. Movement. Ewan smiles in the dark. She breathes like we do. In slow aches and shallow sighs. You do not speak, but you understand. You both fall silent again. There is nothing left to say. You ration what little water remains. A few drops in the bottom of your flask. You moisten your lips, then pass it. To Ewan, he sips once, hands it back. The tunnel is colder now, the air thinner. You breathe in, hold, exhale. Then again, each breath reminds you, you are still here, not gone, not forgotten, not yet. You drift again, into memory, into the sound of rats in the walls, of children playing near the shaft mouth, of mules dragging carts over wet stone. You smell coal smoke, bread crust, a coal-warmed hearth, then a noise, distant, faint. Not the mine this time, not rock or water, metal, rhythmic, clink. Clink, clink, picks. Your heart races. You try to cry out, but your throat is too dry. You slap your hand against the wall, once, twice. The sound is pathetic, muffled, but you do it again. Ewan stirs, hears it too. They're close, he breathes. You do not know if it's real, but the rocks are breathing, and so are you, and perhaps, just perhaps, someone is listening. The sound grows louder. Metal striking stone, steady, urgent, human. It echoes through the rock in short bursts, rising like hope through fog. You sit up straighter, the pain in your leg flaring awake, but it doesn't matter now. Ewan opens his eyes fully for the first time in hours. His mouth twitches into something, close to a smile. "They're here," he says, his voice barely more than a breath. You bang your fist against the timber again, weakly but rhythmically. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 more. You wait, then. A reply, knock, knock, knock. The sound doesn't come from above, but from the side. Through the collapsed stone, the far wall of your small, air-starved chamber shivers slightly as the picks strike. The dust falls like soft rain. Ewan leans forward. "Told you they'd come. You just have to wait long enough. Wait through the worst." You nod, biting down on a sob that rises sharp in your throat. The minutes stretch like hours. You try not to breathe too deeply. The air is thin now, worn out from waiting. The dust floats thick, and your head spins if you move too quickly. Ewan begins murmuring to himself, an old hymn, tuneless and raw, but familiar. You close your eyes and hum along, unsure of the words, but certain of the feeling, and then light, not yours, not memory, real. It begins as a flicker, a dull orange glow pressing through the cracks in the rubble. A breathing flame, small but defiant. It pulses in rhythm with the pick strokes, growing stronger with every strike. You squint, the beam shifts. Then, suddenly, it breaks. A stone tumbles loose. Then another. Then a gush of air, sharp and sweet and full of life. You gasp, coughing, eyes watering. Voices spill in. There's 2, still breathing. Get that beam up, now. Hands. Reach through. You grasp one rough, cold, strong. You're pulled forward, the stone scraping your shoulders, your knees. The passage opens wider. The light burns your eyes. You blink against it. You're out. The tunnel you enter is barely taller, barely cleaner, but it feels like open sky. Dozens of lamps hang from nails and carts, dancing like stars reborn. Men swarm the debris, still digging for more. You see Reese, his face pale, his eyes wide. He runs toward you, grabs your arm, doesn't speak, just holds on. Then comes Ewan. They lift him out gently, supporting his weight, one arm draped over a rescuer's shoulders. His eye meets yours. He nods, once alive. You walk, stumble, together toward the shaft mouth. Your leg protests with every step. Blood trickles from your lip where your teeth had bitten down too hard. But you move. One step, then another. The lift is ready. They pack you in with blankets, press a tin cup of water into your hand. It spills. As you try to drink, your hand's too unsteady. You don't care. You've never tasted anything so clean as you rise. The darkness falls away. You blink against the daylight above, real daylight, broad and pale, stretching across a sky you'd begun to forget existed. The air cuts like a blade, fresh and cold, biting into your lungs. At the top, they cheer. Only a few, quietly, respectfully. Your mother is there. She rushes forward, pressing her hands to your cheeks, brushing dust from your brow, sobbing without sound. She holds you against her, and your knees finally give out. You sink into her arms, every ache returning all at once. The weight of days, the fear, the silence. They carry Ewan past you, straight to the infirmary tent. His eyes are closed, his mouth slack, but he is breathing. Still breathing. You sit beside the fire they've built near the shaft, wrapped in a blanket too thin to matter. Reese brings you a mug of broth. It tastes like salt and coal smoke. You drink it slowly. Someone hands you your lamp. It's dented, the glass cracked, but the wick still smoulders, a trembling line of orange warmth. You stare into it. That tiny, stubborn light, that one small flame that stayed with you, not because you believed in it, but because it refused to go out. The sky weeps before the bell. Thin needles of rain fall through morning mist, tracing silver lines down cottage roofs, collecting in rivulets along the stone-paved paths of the village. It is not a storm, not a sudden deluge, just a steady, mournful drizzle, as if the clouds themselves know what today brings. You wake to the sound of the bell rope pulling taut, once, twice, then 3 times. That's how they mark it now, not with names etched in stone, but with the count of how many did not return. 3 men, one of them young, one of them a father, one of them a face you still cannot bring yourself to remember, though you must have passed him in the tunnels. You dress in silence. Your brother's coat is patched with twine. Your own boots still bear the mark of falling rubble from the cave-in. The bruises on your ribs ache with every breath. But you stand, you move. Everyone does. The village gathers in the square. Hats are removed, eyes lowered. The chapel doors stand open, but most do not go in. The walls feel too close, too proud, out here beneath the rain. There is space for sorrow to breathe. 3 coffins lie on wooden planks, wrapped in black cloth. No polish, no decoration, just pine and silence. The widows stand to the side, flanked by children too young to understand the shape of loss. A girl clutches a doll wrapped in her father's scarf. A boy holds a piece of coal in his hand, not as a token, but as a remembrance. What else did their fathers bring home? The minister speaks, but the words feel distant. They rise and fall like breath through fog. You listen, but your ears are full of other sounds, the creak of timbers, the falling rock, the slow hush of air disappearing between 2 heartbeats. You remember the taste of dust, the sound of Reese calling for help, the groan of the earth folding in on itself. You feel the sting of rain in your eyes, but do not blink. When the time comes, the coffins are lifted by neighbors, by kin. You place a hand to the side of one as it passes, warm with the weight of shared memory. You do not know which man lies inside. It does not matter. They are all familiar in the dark. The walk to the hill is slow. Boots slosh through mud. The older men carry umbrellas, useless against the wind. Your mother walks with her shawl pulled tight, your father leaning on her arm. He coughs, but does not stop. He will see this done. At the graveyard, the holes are already dug, 3 of them, side by side. The gravedigger leans on his spade, hat low. No one speaks. One by one, the coffins are lowered. One by one, the ropes are drawn. The sound of soil striking wood is gentler than you expected, soft, almost kind. It does not thud, it whispers. Children begin to cry. A woman collapses into her sister's arms. The minister closes his book. The rain continues. You linger after the others begin to leave. Your brother stays beside you. He says nothing, but his fingers find yours and hold them tight. You remember a moment, years ago, watching ants rebuild a hill after a boot had crushed it. No panic, no wailing, just quiet motion, 1 grain of soil at a time. That is what you see now. The village returning to its shape. You walk home with your mother. She does not speak of the funeral. She speaks of soup, of needing to sew a hem, of your father's cough. She is already building the next hour, the next day. At home, the fire is low. Your father is asleep in the chair. The blanket has slipped from his knees. You lift it back. Gently, in the corner, your brother writes something in the ash on the hearthstone with his fingertip. A shape, a name. You do not ask. That night, the village is quiet. No bells, no shouts. Only the crackle of wet wood in hearths and the slow dripping of water from rooftops. You lie awake for a long time, watching the shadows dance on the ceiling. You think of coffins, of names unspoken, of a mind that still waits below, and of the space left behind. When a voice disappears from the dark, you find them by accident. It is Sunday afternoon, and the rain has finally broken. A faint sun filters through the soot-smudged window panes, lighting corners of the cottage that have long remained untouched. Your mother is washing clothes out back, and your brother is asleep beside the hearth, mouth open slightly, one hand still curled around a crust of bread he never finished. You are searching for thread. That's all beneath the chest, where your father keeps his tools and old wool socks. Instead, your hand brushes a packet of papers, tied with thin string, yellowed, brittle, folded neatly. Not hidden exactly, just forgotten. You untie them slowly. One by one, they are letters, all addressed to a name you do not recognize at first. Then it comes back. Your father's brother, Edward, gone to America 20 years ago. He left before you were born, chasing coal in a land where wages were gold and streets were stone instead of mud. Or so he said. These letters were never sent. The first is dated 1842. Your father's handwriting is firm, steady, touched with pride. He writes of his first years in the mine, of the weight of the pick, of the camaraderie in the shafts. He writes of marrying your mother, of building this very cottage. His tone is hopeful. Young Dot, you turn the page. The next is different, a note of weariness. They cut the pay again, he writes. 2 shillings less per cart. But the coal keeps coming, and we keep breathing. Another letter, then another dot, each written months apart, each more brittle than the last. One speaks of your birth, a son, small but strong. He grips my thumb like a man. Another mentions the first cough, casually, almost like a joke. Dust tickles the back of my throat. I suppose the mine wants to live in me. The last letter is dated 5 years ago. He writes, I don't know if this will reach you, or if you even remember this place, but if you do, come home. I would like to sit beside you again, if only once. You fold the papers back slowly, your chest tight. You do not cry, but the feeling is there, like water behind stone. When your father wakes, you do not tell him you found them. You simply place the letters beside his chair. He sees them, says nothing, just stares at them for a long time, his fingers drumming faintly against the wood. That evening, he asks you to walk with him. You support his weight as you move down the lane. The village quiet beneath a sky washed clean by rain. He points out the tree he planted when you were born, the bench where he proposed to your mother, the wall where he once leaned to smoke and talk nonsense with the boys, long before his lungs turned to ash. Finally, he stops beside the gate leading to the mine. He does not speak for a long while. Then, I meant to leave once. You wait, before your mother, before the coughing, when I still had strength in my back and the dream in my head. He gestures vaguely toward the horizon. But it's a strange thing. You dig so deep into a place, it begins to own you. You nod. He laughs, a dry sound, hollowed by years. I thought I'd make something better of myself. Over there, send money home. Write stories about the sun. He leans against the gate. But I stayed. And now, it's just you boys down there. You glance at his face. His eyes aren't bitter, only tired back home. He falls asleep early. You sit by the hearth, lamp low, your brother's breathing, soft beside you. You wonder about Edward, whether he ever read a letter, whether he still walks above ground, whether he hears the same wind, or if it sounds different over the sea. In the morning. You carry the letters into the shaft, not to mail them, but to place one in your coat pocket. Just one. The pages are soft. Folded close to your chest, they feel like memory. The mind does not ask questions. It takes what is given, and you carry that weight down with you, into the dark. Where words never sent still burn. He arrives just after dusk, with boots that haven't yet tasted the pit, and a coat that doesn't sag with coal dust. His stride is long, like someone used to roads that stretch flat and open, not ones that twist between hills and vanish into fog. He doesn't knock on doors, he waits. The village pub is half empty. As usual, a few men gather by the hearth, their pints half drunk, eyes slow to lift. You are among them, shoulders still stiff from your shift, a fresh blister blooming beneath your thumb. He orders ale, pays in silver, and sits at the center table without asking. His coat sheds droplets of rain, and his hat rests on the bench beside him. When he speaks, it is not loud, but it is clear. I've come to speak with miners. The men glance at one another. One shrugs. Another sips his drink and turns away. You watch. He tries again. I represent the Colliers Union, Manchester branch. Some of you may have heard. The word union carries weight. More than coal, more than blood. It lands on the floor like dropped iron. A few men stiffen. One rises and walks out. Another mutters, that trouble again. You stay seated. He speaks calmly, his voice steady, measured. He speaks of rights, of pay that matches labor, of safety, boards and inspectors, of widows who should not be left to charity. He names laws you've never heard, and promises you doubt the owners would ever allow. Then he lowers his voice. I've seen what happens when men believe they must suffer to survive. You stare at your hands. You remember Thomas Gwynne's funeral. The way the cart tilted, the way the shaft groaned days before. He opens a leather satchel and lays papers on the table, pamphlets worn and folded. You do not read them. You don't have to. The words are already in your bones. One man speaks up, and what happens if we sign? You pay our wages when they fire us. The stranger meets his eyes. I pay nothing. I organize. I gather the weight of men's voices and carry them like firewood to the door of Parliament. What happens after, that's up to you. Another scoffs, easy for you. You sleep in inns. We sleep in fear. He nods. I've slept in fear too, just not of owners, of silence. The room quiet. He continues, slowly. No passion now, just fact. They pay you less each season. They break the beams and ask you to crawl beneath them. They take your sons and call it necessary. And when the roof falls, they dig out the coal before the bodies. You feel your brother's red cloth still tied around your wrist. The fire hisses as rain begins to fall harder outside. The stranger stands. I'll be in the village 2 more nights. I'll leave papers at the chapel gate, for those who can. Read, for those who can't ask a neighbor. He tips his hat. No bows. No promises. Just a man with too much road behind him. He steps into the rain, and the door closes softly behind him. No one speaks. Later that night, you walk alone to the chapel. The gate creaks under your hand. A pile of papers rests in a cloth pouch beneath the eaves, already damp at the corners. You take one, just to look. The words are simple. We are stronger together. You fold it, place it in your coat beside your father's. Old letter, at home. The lamp burns low. Your mother mends a sock in silence. Your father dozes with his head back, mouth open, breath wheezing. You sit beside the fire, and for the first time in weeks, you think not of what must be endured, but of what might be changed. The morning begins not with the toll of the bell, nor the hiss of the lift, nor the creak of boots on timber. It begins with stillness. You rise at the usual hour before light and pull on your boots out of habit. But as you open the door, the world outside does not move. No line at the shaft, no voices rising in the mist. Only silence and the faint grey glow of dawn pressing against the rooftops. Your brother stands beside you, already dressed. He carries his lamp, but it is not lit. Are we going? He asks. You don't answer, not yet. You walk toward the mine together. You pass the homes of the others, you and Reese, the widow of Thomas Gwynn, and see them standing outside, waiting, not moving. Some with arms crossed, some with hands in pockets, some leaning on canes and tired shoulders. No one heads toward the shaft. The air carries a new kind of weight, not fear, but a quiet, tremulous resolve. The stranger's pamphlet is folded in your coat. You haven't taken it out since you brought it home. You haven't needed to. The words etched themselves into your thoughts days ago. At the gate to the pit, a foreman waits. Not one of yours, but from above, sent by the owners, pale-faced, and wrapped in a coat to clean for the place he stands. He paces, checks his pocket watch, barks something at a boy who flinches and flees. Still, no one enters. The cage hangs empty by 8 o'clock. The shouting begins. Lazy cowards. One of the overseers cries from the lift post. There'll be no pay for idlers. But the threat has lost its teeth. You look to your left and see Reese, arms folded, lips pressed tight. To your right, Ewan leans against a cart, his injured hand wrapped in cloth. He doesn't speak, but he nods at you. Once it is a strike, not declared, not planned, not formal, but real. One by one, others arrive. Some in coats, frayed at the edges. Some with children clinging to their legs. All of them with the same look, not defiant, not angry. Just tired, tired of working beneath a roof that moans and cracks. Tired of coughing through sleep and hunger through supper. Tired of funerals. The foreman shouts again, threatens jail, fines, evictions. Still no one moves. The bells of the chapel ring softly at 10. Not for the dead this time, but as if in recognition of the living dot. By noon, the rain begins again. A thin drizzle, gentle, soaking through shoulders and hats and promises. But the men stay, huddled near fires in barrels, wrapped in blankets, holding the line not with fists, but with presence. Your brother tugs your sleeve. I'm hungry, he says. You hand him the half loaf in your pocket. You don't eat. By mid-afternoon, the mine manager arrives on horseback. He wears a red coat and gloves of dark leather. He surveys the gathering like a man trying to count flames. His voice is colder than the wind. "You'll get nothing," he says, "not a penny for the week." Ewan coughs once, loud enough to be heard. "Good," he says. "We've lived on nothing before." The manager sneers. "You'll be begging." Before the week's out, a woman from the crowd, one of the widows, steps forward. "And what will you do when your tunnels stay full and your carts stay empty?" The manager's face pales. He turns his horse and rides off by nightfall. The lamps remain unlit, the shaft silent, the picks untouched. The men have walked out at home. Your father sits straighter than usual. His cough has not stopped, but tonight it is quieter. "Did you work?" he asks. You shake your head. "Good," he says. "There's power in no." You eat broth without bread. Your mother stretches what little meat remains. No one complains. Later, your brother reads the pamphlet, aloud by firelight. The words sound braver in his voice. "Let no man dig alone in silence. Let him stand, and others stand beside him." You look out the window. The shaft still looms in the dark. It has taken so much, but tonight, for the first time, it takes nothing. Years have passed. Not in a rush, not in a flood, but in the quiet way seasons pass when no one counts them. In the slow wearing of boots, in the soft graying of hair, in the steady lengthening of shadows that stretch across familiar paths. The shaft is sealed now. You return to it one morning, older than your father was when he took ill, older than you ever thought you'd be. The wind carries no coal smoke any more, only the smell of wet grass and chimney soot. The path to the mine is overgrown, not wild, just unclipped. Thistles press through the fence. Moss climbs the stone where the old sign used to hang. Your boots find a trail easily. Memory walks ahead of you. Reese is with you. His limp is worse these days, an old break from a collapsed plank, but his eyes are still bright, his hands still calloused. He leans on a walking stick carved from a broken shaft beam, the same one he carried when he marched with the Union 10 years back. Neither of you speak as you reach the clearing. The lift tower is gone. Only the stone mouth remains, sealed with iron and brick, choked with weeds. A plaque was once placed here, bronze, bright, official. It's gone now, stolen or forgotten. In its place, a single rusted lantern nailed to the gate. The glass cracked. The wick long burned out. You remember the day the mine closed. Men gathered in silence. No celebration, no mourning, just relief and uncertainty. You carried your last load of coal to the top and set down your pick, never to lift it again. The cart tracks were torn up by summer's end. The company left, the town stayed. Now there are children playing near the old cart shed. Their laughter echoes down the hill like birdsong. They do not know what this place once was. They do not feel the weight that still lingers in the stone. You watch them chase each other through the grass where the shaft rails once ran, their boots light, their shouts bright. You turn to Reese. "Strange, isn't it?" He shrugs. "Strange that it's gone. Stranger that we stayed." You sit on the low stone wall, the one you leaned against so many times before. The coal dust has long since washed away, but your hands still remember its feel, the grit, the smear, the black that lived beneath the nails no matter how you scrubbed. The Union held for a time. There were victories and losses, then the slow fading. The owners moved on. New industries came, but the scars remained, not just in lungs or limbs. but in the way men looked down when speaking of the past. You take from your coat an envelope, yellowed, still sealed. One of your father's letters, never sent. You hand it to Reese. Bury it. He nods. Together, you find a patch of earth by the gate and dig with your hands. The soil is soft, damp. You press the envelope into the ground like a seed. Cover it. Let it rest. Let the wind carry what we couldn't. You murmur. Ash from your pipe catches the breeze, rising like memory. You stand. Your knees protest. Your spine aches. But you are upright. The mind may be closed, but it lives inside you, in the rhythm of your breath, the stoop of your shoulders, the sound your boots make on stone. Reese places a hand on your shoulder. I dream of it still, he says. The tunnels, the way, the light bent, the silence. You nod, so do you. That night you walk home slowly, past the chapel, past the square, past the widow's cottage, now owned by a baker with flower-streaked arms. You pass the old bench where your father once sat coughing. Into the dawn. It's empty now, but the wind moves the leaves beside it, gently. The hearth glows when you return home. Your son is there, mending a bucket, his own child asleep in his lap. He looks up and smiles. You sit, stretch your legs, and for the first time in a long while you feel light, not because the past is gone, but because you carried it and set it. Down like ash on the wind, the earth no longer groans beneath your boots. It hums, not with the rumble of carts or the grind of picks, but with wind in the grass, with birdsong rising like smoke from chimneyless roofs, with a quiet that does not suffocate but soothes. You walk the old trail one last time, alone. The morning is crisp, not cruel, just honest. The sky stretches pale and soft above you, like a canvas that remembers every season. The mine is still there, silent, swallowed by green, but it does not vanish. Memory rarely does. You see it even now, the outline of the shaft, the scorched ring where the forge once flared, the collapsed fence posts leaning like tired men against one another. You stop at the gate, or what's left of it, rusted iron, a single hinge. A crow sits atop the lantern, nailed there, then flutters away. At your approach, the lantern itself hasn't been lit in years. The glass is stained with time, the wick lost. But still, you reach for it. Your fingers brush the metal. Once, you would have been called a collier, a boy with soot in his lungs and fear in his mouth, a man with rhythm in his limbs, swinging pick and hope alike into walls that never gave back. Enough now, you are simply a survivor. You close your eyes, and the mine returns. You remember the light, the one you carried down, day after day. The flicker of flame within glass. How it danced across wet rock. How it bent shadows into ghosts. How it warmed your fingertips, even as the tunnels swallowed the sun. It was never bright, never strong, but it was yours. You recall the night it went out and the silence that followed. You recall the day it came back and the voice that broke the dark. You recall the years it burned low, the way you shielded it with calloused hands when the wind blew cruel, when the shaft cracked, when the world wanted you buried, and somehow it endured. So did you. You step into the field beside the mine. Grass bends beneath your boots, soft and willing. The air smells of soil and leaves. You remove your cap, hold it to your chest, not in mourning, in gratitude. Not every man who went down came back up, but you did, not whole, but lit. You kneel, press your hand to the earth. It is warm. You feel the thrum of root and worm and the slow aching breath of stone. You whisper something into the dirt. Not a prayer, not a name, just a word that has no sound but feels like peace. Then you rise, you turn from the shaft, and you walk not quickly, not triumphantly, just steadily, like a man whose flame has lasted longer than the tunnel, like someone who carried the light, not because he was brave, but because there was no one else left to do it. And though the lantern no longer burns, you do, softly, quietly, a flicker that became a fire, and never once went out as the last breath of this story lingers like coal dust in a beam of sunlight. Thank you for walking through the dark with me. If this journey stirred something in your soul or lit a small fire in your heart, I hope you'll return again. Subscribe, share your thoughts, and rest well. The light you carried still glows. What part of this story stayed with you the most? Asterisk, as the last ember fades in the mind's cold heart, I hope the memory still glows gently in yours. If this story stayed with you, return again to walk the forgotten roads of history, where even silence has a soul. Subscribe if you'd like to hear another whisper from the past. Asterisk, what part of this story stayed with you the most? Could you have endured a lifetime beneath the earth? Do you think hope could survive in a world of coal and silence?